Hi, I'm Mr. McConley, and this is BKW Physics. We're going to talk real briefly today about a concept of when you're adding two vectors together, what's the maximum result that you can get, and what's the minimum result that you can get. So if you're talking about resultants, there's a max, and there's a min. And what I mean is this. If you take two vectors and you add them together, let's for instance say that your vectors are 5 and 3. If you take one vector and we point it this way and it's a 5, then if we're looking for our maximum answer, then we're going to want to tack the next vector right onto the end, tip to tail. We're going to want to put the 3 right there. And in that way, our resultant will be an 8. So that would be the maximum, the biggest answer we can get. If you use the same 5 and 3, then, and you want to get the minimum, then the 5, if the 5 were going this way, for instance, then we would tack the 3 right onto the end, but we would bring it back the other way. And in the end, we'd be left with a resultant of only 2. Now that's fairly straightforward, nothing really confusing there. But here's a few other little details that people tend to get messed up with. First of all, these two, if they're pointing the same direction, what's the angle between them? That's where people get confused. What'd you say it was? Yeah, 0. So these have a 0-degree angle compared to one another, because they both point the same way. And in this case, I just pointed them that way. Okay, they could have been pointed up or down, but I pointed them that way. But either way, compared to each other, they're 0 degrees. A minimum is going to be 180 degrees, because whatever way you're pointing the first one, the other one's going to want to be pointing exactly the other direction. So they're 180 degrees with respect to each other. Alright, that's fine. Well, here's the next little thing that a lot of people don't catch. If you take this resultant, and you take this resultant, those are your maxes and your mins, do you know that any combination, if you take any vectors and you add them in any combination, a 5 and a 3 will have to give you an answer between a 2 and an 8. The resultant of a 5 and a 3 has to be between a 2 and an 8. So your possible answers are between these. So what I mean is your resultant could be anywhere from a 2 up to an 8. Any number in between is possible. And some of you are thinking, well, how does that work? Well, say if you took a 5 this way, and you took a 3 this way, well, your resultant would be somewhere in between. Okay, you can do the math, you can figure out what this resultant is, but that resultant would fall somewhere in that range. In fact, any combination that you use has to fall within that range. So if you took the 5 like this, and you added the 3 like this, 5 and 3, now your resultant is definitely pushing more towards the 8, but it's not an 8. Okay, it's a little less than an 8 still. So when you take two situations, you can find your resultant's going to fall somewhere in between. So that's it for today, physics.